right, this is Garrett, Tearstojoyministries.org. This video is called It Started at About 7 Years Old. You see, when I was about 7 years old, I was with my dad in the car, and we went to a car wash which was very close to my mom's house. My mom and dad had separated. It was probably a Saturday. I was with my dad, and we had to go to the car wash to get the car washed. And being just a little boy, I thought the car washes were fascinating. The car would go inside and the machines would wash it and the soap would come down. I thought it was very interesting. But there was a problem. There were a couple pinball machines in the car wash that I saw for the very first time. And that is when 45 years of battling a gaming addiction started. It started with a pinball machine when I was a little boy. And my dad would get a couple dimes. I think the pinball games were 10 cents back then. And we would play a few games while the car was being washed. Then a few weeks would go by and maybe we would play again with my dad at the car wash. Then at the age of maybe 7 or 8 or 9, sometimes I would go into my mom's bedroom and I would steal a couple quarters out of her jar of quarters. And the car wash was only 2 blocks away if I took the shortcuts. You see, I used to cut through the houses and go through their yards. This was back in the day when you can do that and you wouldn't be captured and sexually abused and tortured the way you would be now. This was 40 years ago when the USA, California, and Los Angeles were totally different than they are now. And I would steal a couple quarters from my mom, and I would go to the car wash, and I only needed a couple quarters because God really blessed me with gaming, with pinball, with arcade games. I mean, God just super anointed me and super blessed me for gaming. And I've been really, really good at it my entire life. And then, then a month later, I would steal some more quarters and go play pinball all day long for hours and hours. You see, I was so good, I could keep winning free games. So, because I was so good, I could make 4 quarters last maybe 3 hours by winning a whole bunch of free games. Then when I was a little bit older, they started inventing video games, and they would put them in the 7-Elevens and arcades. Games like Asteroids and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and all the other games. But the pinball machines were getting better and better. They were being designed better and better, and I was really, really good. I was able to go into 7-Elevens and break the all-time records on the machines and put my initials up there. I was good enough to enter tournaments, and come into 3rd place or whatever, etc., etc. Then when I was about 18 years old, the first computers were being created for the consumer to buy. Now, this was about 35 years ago, or whatever, maybe, about 35 years ago. And my stepdad bought the Apple II computer, and they made games for it. They used to have games that were text only. It was just text. You would read the text and hit your keyboard according to the answer, and that's what we were playing in the beginning. And those computers 35 years ago cost almost $1,500. Think about that. How much was How much is $1,500 35 years ago? But guess what? God made sure I had the money to buy one. And I bought the beginning games, the very beginning games for the computer on the 5 1/4 floppy drives. You see, hard drives weren't invented yet. So you had to put in your floppy drive, play for 10 minutes, the game would freeze, you take out the floppy and you put in the next one. You will play for 10 minutes, the game would freeze, you pull out the floppy and put in the next one. Then 3, 4 years later, buy another computer for $1,500 and the games were getting better and better. Then 5 years later, buy another computer and the games were getting even better on the computer. And that's when games like Wing Commander 1, Wing Commander 2 and 3 came out, and space battle games and RTS games, real-time strategy games. Role-playing games were coming out. Dungeons and Dragons were coming out now. And I've been battling this off and on and off and on. I don't know, from about the age of 7 all the way to tonight. Is it the demons doing it? No. Is it my flesh doing it? No. Well, who's doing it? Some of you who are new in the Lord, you're a brand new Christian, you thought it was the flesh. You thought it was the demons. No. Child of God, you've been lied to. You've been deceived. It's God doing it. Does God use vessels of dishonor like the flesh and the demons? Yes, God uses the vessels of dishonor. God uses the demons like dumb farm animals, of course. Does God use our flesh? Yes. Does God use the world? Yes. God doeth all things, children of God, and all things are of God. Is God punishing me? No. Is he angry at me because of all this gaming? No. He's using this to change me from the inside out. God is powerful enough to use evil for our good, and he does every single day, every hour, every minute, and every second. So if you've been battling smoking, if you've been battling pornography, if you've been battling internet gaming or smoking weed or energy drinks or anything else, I know how you feel. And I'm on your side. And I'm in the same boat you are. And I care about you. And I have compassion towards you. And I love you. And I'm here for you if you want to talk on the phone. So let's start by praising God for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's praise God. I praise God right now for battling against these addictions because he's using them for my good and he's using them for your good. So from about the age of 7, stealing a couple quarters from my mom and taking every shortcut in the neighborhood to the car wash, climbing fences, going through backyards, squeezing through locked gates, all the way tonight to high-tech computer gaming devices in my condo, high-tech games and everything else. I'm going to praise God. I praise God for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I praise God.